This is a quick instructional video to show you how to refill your Chameleon Color Tones pens. Now, the beautiful part about Chameleon pens is that the inks are refillable and the nibs are replaceable. So essentially, this is a fine art tool you're going to have for a long time. The refill kit looks like this. Each color comes in its own box, and it will denote what color is inside by the little bursts that you see on the front. Now, the ink refill kit has a few components, and we'll go through those. There's the inkwell bottle, which I love this. It's a little bit lower to the ground, so that way it's less likely to be tipped over. Great for klutzes like me. And it also comes with an ink injector. Now, every single kit has its own ink injector. The beautiful part about that is you won't have to worry about any cross-contamination of color. I still rinse mine out with a little bit of alcohol just to keep it clean for storage, but you don't have to worry about in between colors having to worry about that. So it comes in two parts, and you just have to pop that on. It's actually a blunt injector too, so you won't have to worry about sticking yourself. And there's a really good set of instructions. Everybody should be able to understand these. They're very simple. Step 1, start by covering your surface. I did that. Got a little bit of paper towel on here. Step 2, make sure that your ink bottle is on a flat surface. Of course, you don't want to be tilted or it'll tip over. Step 3, you want to make sure that when you're removing the nib to fill it, you're removing the bullet nib, not the brush nib. And that's important because the brush nib is a super soft Japanese brush nib, and you really don't want to be mushing it and pulling it in and out and in and out unless you're actually going to replace the nib. So you're going to pull out your bullet nib, and I'm going to show you how to do that. And then you pull 1 mil, and we'll do that out. And then we're going to inject it into our pen and replace the nib and put our cap back on, and we're a happy, happy person, so that we've created a nice refill of our pens. All right, now that was the instructions. I'm going to do it live for you here. We do have a set of tweezers that you can get for Chameleon pens, and it's nice because it has this little grip in the end, which allows you to get into, especially the mixing chamber. Standard set of tweezers can work on the regular pen, but what you're going to find is for the mixing chamber area, that longer tweezer works better. So I'm going to refill my YG3, and of course I'm not going to use the brush. I'm going to go from the bullet end, which is important. Now, I don't need my mixing chamber at the moment. I am going to show you how to refill that, but that's going to be in a separate video. So I'm just going to put that off to the side. And again, working from the bullet nib, what I'm going to do is just pull the bullet nib out, and I'm just going to set that on my paper towel at the side there. I'm just going to move these instructions out of the way. Keep a nice clean area, and I'm going to open up my inkwell bottle, make sure that my needle is on correctly, a little injector. I'm going to put that in here, and you can see what I'm going to do here, but I'm going to take this and I'm just going to lightly pull so that I'm getting about, let's see that, lightly pulling that up, so I'm getting about 1 gram of ink in there. You can see that's 1 gram. They're all marked as well. Now I'm just going to take my pen and I'm just going to slide that in, and you can feel it hit some resistance right there. And that's the Transorb. So pop it on in, and then just slowly give it a squeeze. And as you can see, the ink injector is going down, and it's filling my pen with ink. There you go. Now each pen, when you get it, has over 3 grams of ink. So really, you don't want to fill this any more than 1 gram at a time, and that's important. More than that, you could overfill the pen. Less is more. That is pretty much the motto with Chameleon pens. So now that I've done that, I want to take my nib and I want to drop it back in. And I'm using these little grips, and I'm holding it just above where there's that little seam in there. And I'm just going to give this a push and just tamp it down just so that it's seated. I don't want to be pushing at the top of the nib because I would be hurting the tip. Give it a grip and push it down. And once you've done that, you just want to double check and make sure that that nib is seated properly, because you want to have it, when this these two collars hit and meet, you want to just have that meet. If it's sitting up a little bit like that, that means you didn't push your nib quite all the way down to the bottom. And if that's the case, just take your tweezers and give it a little push further. But mine was actually done correctly. So now that those sit together, the nibs touch beautifully, I have a nice mix, a nice fuse, and it'll allow me to fuse perfectly that way too. So that is the way you refill a Chameleon pen. It's really that simple. So now that's refilled, I'm going to clean up my little workstation here and give this a little rinse out with some, just rinse the tip with a little bit of rubbing alcohol. So I just rinsed this off in a little bit of rubbing alcohol so that they're good to go next time. But again, you don't have to worry about if they're a little stained or there's a little color left in, because each of these refill kits come with its own ink injector, so there will never be cross-contamination between colors. I absolutely love that. So we just filled this pen with 1 milliliter, 1 gram of ink, and you just keep refilling it. It comes with over 3 grams of ink, but we tell you again, don't refill it more than 1 at a time because there's still some residual ink left inside there. So the next question people always ask is, well, then how many refills am I actually going to get out of this bottle? Well, inside here there's 25 mil or 25 grams of ink. So you do the math. Typically, if you think about it, that's probably about 8 full refills of this pen, from like dry, nothing, to completely full, but it never goes completely dry, and we always suggest only going 1 gram of ink at a time. So, you know, in math terms, 8 full refills, but you'll be refilling this many times over. As soon as you feel the pen's a little dry, just give it a quick gram of ink, and it's really that easy.